Hi there, everyone. I think we are now live. So I'm really pleased to be here with you. You may be surprised to see me today because, of course, I would normally be doing this the second day from the end of the month. However, just to explain why I'm early today, we have another scorching week coming up here in Adelaide. We're looking at high 30s from yesterday all the way through, pushing up into 40s by Friday and Saturday. That's Celsius for you American people who are scratching your heads. It is really hot. I've got a few other things to get done during the week as well. And today I'm sitting here and I've got a bit of spare time, and I thought I'm just going to kick off today with this and get this one and the books one done today ahead of time. Just so that as the days get hotter, as we move through the week, I know I don't have to try and fit in filming for these two videos. So that's why I am early with you all today. But I hope we're going to have fun anyway, and I hope you'll enjoy watching. And I'm going to kick straight off. When I was getting ready for this video this morning, I thought, oh, I haven't seen that much. There's not going to be much to say. But actually, when I looked at my bullet journal where I record all these things, I'd actually watched quite a number of films on demand. So we do have a few things to talk about. So straight away, we'll start with cinema as always. I saw two films at the cinema this month. The first of those was Green Book, and I gave this 4.5 stars. The film had some issues. I think it kind of sweetened things off a little bit. It didn't really, there were one or two exceptions, but it didn't really get into the race issues as much as it could have, I think. It did kind of rose tint glasses over them a little bit. But it was still an enjoyable movie to watch. Wonderful performances by the leads. And I think it's just one of those films you can sit down and enjoy. So that's why I gave it 4.5. I was kind of like 4.5, and I ended up going to 4.5 just because I thought the performances were good. And the second one I saw was Alita Battle Angel. This one gets 4 stars for me. I didn't come into it with any expectations. I wasn't familiar with the original material, and I found it an enjoyable, entertaining action fantasy film. Or action sci-fi fantasy, perhaps I should say. It's not going to win any major prizes for its amazing content in terms of making people think or presenting anything new, but the effects were brilliant. It was just really enjoyable entertainment, and it's the kind of film you could sit back and watch again, like on a Saturday evening, put the DVD on, get some popcorn or snacks, and it would just be an enjoyable way to pass the evening. So 4 stars for me. My husband came with me and he enjoyed it too. He thought it was good fun. So moving on to films that I have seen streaming. So this is either from Netflix or from Australia's SBS On Demand. SBS is particularly known for presenting a lot of excellent foreign films. So on that note, we're starting off with Volver, starring Penelope Cruz and by Almodovar. I do like Almodovar's films. So this was no exception. I thought it was really enjoyable. It wasn't 100% what I expected at the start, and I kind of liked that quirky, almost black comedy at times. And I just thought it was really well done. It was entertaining. The next one I saw was From Time to Time, and I confess I only really watched this one because Dominic West was in it, and he was actually only a secondary character, really. But for those who don't know it, it's about a boy who goes to stay with his grandma during the war. His father is missing in action, and his mother sent him to stay with grandma while she tries to find the husband and sort out what's going on. And in the house, he discovers it's haunted by all the ghosts of the family who have lived there in the past, his distant relations, and he uncovers a mystery that's been stewing in the house for quite a few years. And again, I don't want to spoiler. It's one of those films you don't want to like spoiler what happens. So it's a sweet film, a little bit sentimental at times, but it was enjoyable, and I liked the mystery side of it that went on as well as the paranormal aspects. Next up was Passengers. So not going back too far in time, from a few years ago. This was a sci-fi one that I was interested in but didn't get around to seeing in the cinema, so it was good to see it at last. And again, I found it an entertaining movie. I thought the performances were good. I loved Sheen's little cameo as the animatronic barman. I thought he was brilliant fun. Every time he was on, he kind of stole the scene. And again, it's just one of those films that I think you can sit back and enjoy with a popcorn on Saturday night. It's not breaking new ground, but it's just good entertainment. The next one was something a little bit different. It was I Love You, Philip Morris. And this is one I watched. I'd never heard of it. And I came across it on SBS On Demand and saw Ewan McGregor was in it. And I'm a big fan of Ewan McGregor. So I thought I'd give it a try. And it's actually Ewan McGregor and Jim Carrey who star in this. I was really surprised and interested to see it was based on a real event, on real people. And Jim Carrey's character goes to prison, meets Philip Morris, played by Ewan McGregor, and falls in love with him. And along the way, there are many prison escapes and con jobs. And it's fascinating to think that it did actually happen. This guy broke out of prison many times. And it was really enjoyable. I loved every minute of it. And I'd definitely like to find out more about the original story behind it, I think. Next up, Brideshead Revisited. Now, this is a more recent adaptation. Well, I say recent, it's a few years old now, but not the original film version, but a newer one with Michael Good. Michael Good. It's because I'm thinking Michael Sheen. Matthew Good is what I mean to say, in the main role. I thought this was a good adaptation. I think Brideshead Revisited is in some ways a difficult book to adapt for screen. I mean, it's a book I love. And there's always some element that doesn't quite work on the screen for me. And overall, though, I thought this version did quite well. And I think Matthew Good, as in terms of casting, that was an excellent choice. Some other famous names, Hayley Atwell and various people in it as well. And it's definitely worth watching. Even if you haven't read the book, it is an interesting period drama if you are not familiar with the source material even. And I do recommend giving it a go. Next up was an Icelandic film called The Swan. And this was about a young girl who's a bit of a problem child, and she's been sent away from the city, from Reykjavik way, to a remote farm for the summer, with the idea that helping out on the farm will help straighten her out. I mean, she is quite young. She's not teenager yet. She's still a child. And there she meets the farmer and his wife, and their daughter, who has a few problems of her own, and the guy who visits them every summer to help with the harvest and various chores. So it's one of those films, again, I've got to be really careful because I don't want to give too much away. So it's kind of in some ways a coming of age story, but there's a lot of other drama and family stuff going on in the background as well. Beautiful piece. I do love Icelandic cinema, particularly in films like this where it really captures the sense of Iceland and the beautiful landscape and the isolation. And it was just one of those films that you're just gripped by the cinematography, even more than the story in some ways. But definitely I would recommend checking it out. Perhaps not as a first piece if you haven't seen any Icelandic cinema before, but definitely if you've watched one or two and enjoyed them, this is one that you'll want to have a look at. Sticking with European cinema, but moving to Russia for Intimate Parts. This was a film I had trouble with a little bit. In some ways it was interesting. It was kind of a look at middle-class sexual hang-ups in Russia, in Moscow. And some things about it worked, but for me some things didn't. And I think maybe some of that is just coming from a different background. Like, I wasn't entirely happy with the way they presented gay people, women sometimes. I just struggled with some of that. It was certainly a fascinating piece, interestingly put together, and a fascinating idea, particularly coming from the place it does. But for me, there were just too many things that made me go, not quite happy with that portrayal for it to work fully for me. Next up, moving to France for Double Lover. This is one of those kind of psychological erotic thrillers, I guess you'd call it. It's a bit hard to decide what to describe it as. I'd say it's in many ways it's more psychological thriller than erotic drama, but there are elements of both in there. And a young woman goes into therapy, falls in love with her therapist, and they end up moving in together, but he has this secret that he's been keeping from her. And this is definitely one where I can't tell you anymore because it would ruin it. There's a huge amount going on. It's a major twist at one point, which made me go, what, for a second, until I kind of got back into it again. And overall, this is an enjoyable watch, something a little bit different, and it definitely held my interest and made me wonder how it was all going to end. And lastly, Black Mirror Bandersnatch. I thought this was an absolutely brilliant concept. I mean, I'm very into transmedia lately. I love the idea of it. I wish we could see some more of it coming out. And this piece really encompasses that, because Black Mirror, in case you don't know, is a UK series. It's been on Netflix for a little while. And there's been various seasons. And usually they're standalone one-episode pieces, go for about an hour. Different stories about sci-fi technology going wrong and things like that. And this one is interesting because it kind of puts the audience in the story. So it's almost a choose your own adventure TV series. As we go along through the story, we get asked to make choices for the main character. And it starts off fairly innocuous. What breakfast cereal does he want? Which album does he want to listen to on his Walkman? It's set in the 80s. And later on, it becomes things like, should we kill our father or not? And various things like that. And as you make a decision, that affects where the story goes. Sometimes you get a bit of a reset and you get to go back and make a different choice later. I spent about an hour and 20 minutes playing this, and I found it absolutely fascinating. It's brilliant. The story idea was good. The acting was good. I love the way we had that power to make decisions, and particularly the way that those decisions are then later brought into the story when the main character realizes that someone's pulling his strings. It was an absolutely fantastic idea, a little bit out there, and it just worked so well. So if you have Netflix and you can check it out, really do check it out, because it was such brilliant fun. And that brings me just to TV. So first of all, on streaming TV on Netflix, I watched The Umbrella Academy, which I finished yesterday evening. And again, I don't know anything about the source material, so I came to it as a blank slate, if you like. On the whole, I found it good. I liked the characters. I liked the story idea. The only thing that let it down a little bit for me was the pacing, particularly in the earlier episodes. There would be brilliant moments, and then you'd have 20, 30 minutes of sort of sitting there waiting for something more interesting to happen, a lot of staring into the distance and a lot of endless dialogue, seemingly endless dialogue, and then something really great would happen, and then you get some more sort of slightly tedious moments. As the series went on, as we got into the last 4 or 5 episodes, that eased out a bit, and there was so much going on they didn't have time to be boring. But in those first episodes, you do have to bear with it a little bit, because the pacing is a little bit off. But it was entertaining, and they left it on a huge cliffhanger, which is so annoying. So I probably will be back to watch a second series if they do make one. And finally, stuff that I've been watching just on regular TV and DVD. So on regular TV, I watched series 3 of Upstart Crow. Some of you may have heard me mention this before. It's a UK comedy series based on the life of Shakespeare. And which is not as dull as it sounds. It's something for everyone really in this. It's such fun. And this series was still really great. I don't think maybe it had quite the magic of 1 and 2. But there are still some really good moments. I mean, I loved the bit where they were making fun of how actors promote their charity causes. That was definitely spot on. I did think they went a little bit too far in being nasty about Mark Rylance in one episode, but then that might just be because I'm a big Mark Rylance fan. I just thought they maybe were a little bit harsh on him, but it was still great fun. And finally, I did a rewatch of the originals because I bought the complete box set, series 1 to 5, at the beginning of the year. And during January and February, I was watching that. So series 1 to 4, I'd already seen, but series 5, the final season, was new to me. And it was wonderful to see how it ended. It was so sad. I was so miserable when it ended and the way it ended, but I think it worked. I think it was a good ending, even though it upset me on some levels, which again, I don't know if everyone's seen it. So just in case you haven't, I'm not going to spoiler it. But that was it. My poor Elijah. 5 seasons of Elijah goggling, if you like. So it was good fun. It was good fun to watch it again and to watch it just all the way through without any breaks. And yeah, that was it. So that is my film and TV for the month. I was originally hoping to go and see Vox Lux yesterday, but between seeing only mediocre reviews and the weather being so hot. And I also had to clean the whole house yesterday and do the shopping and various things. And I was just thinking, oh, you know what? I can live without this at the moment. So I may still try and catch it in early March. It just depends what I'm up to, if the timings work out and things like that. So we'll see. I may see it or I may not. If I don't, the next thing I see will probably be Captain Marvel. So I'm looking forward to that one. And I will tell you all about that next time. So I'm going to wrap up there. I'm actually going to come back in probably about half hour, say, to give me time to have a drink and get everything set up. And I'm going to do my books one as well while the weather's still like bearable at the moment. So I hope I will see you all again then. And in the meantime, bye for now, everyone.